Hello pilots and welcome to another Eve Echoes video. I'm Gromire and today we're going to be taking a small break away from PvP to get back to some safe ratting tips and earning some ISK in null-sec. So if you're thinking of diving into null for the first time or are already out there and keep losing ships, I've put together a short list of tips that could save you a ton of ISK and IP. Find yourself a quiet place. The Eve Echoes universe is pretty large, and finding a safe place to rat can be difficult, especially if you're not in an alliance. But we're going to look at some ways that you can stay safe by going into some dead-end systems and not being on a high-traffic highway for autopilot paths. So while a tip that I'm not going to include on this list is joining a corp or alliance, I do heavily suggest doing that because a lot of null-sec space is already occupied, especially the heavy ratting sites. So as you can see here, Ticos owns a majority of this space, and if you follow that line up, you can see that traveling from one region from the south to the next region in the north is going to be on a straight autopilot path. However, this is a good example of a key ratting area in this small pipe where Ticos and Meow are located. Deborn specifically is a great system because not only is it a -8 system, providing higher tier rats and ore, it is very tucked away and hidden away from the autopilot path, so you know that if you see an enemy coming, called out, or in your local, they're probably coming to take you out. If you're trying to rat or mine on an autopilot path, a lot of times you'll see people just passing through the system, and it might spook you into docking up at a citadel or a pos. And while some options might look like good dead-end systems to rat in, they might also be near an NPC station where enemies might be hiding out or staging ships and have quick access to taking you out and jumping you without you having any notice of them coming. So typically making your home around an NPC station is not the safest bet as well. Another area to steer clear from is these junction points from one region to another. These are going to be heavily gate camped on the gates between the two systems, and a lot of traffic is going to be passing through back and forth. So you're really not going to have a lot of time to feel safe and get some good ISK grinding in, especially if you have different or opposing alliances on each end. Even if the system that you're going to be looking at is close to an empty space that's unoccupied, you still are not going to have the warning time needed to prepare yourself. And unless you're absolutely begging for a fight, please do not make your home in a system that has a junction point with a low sec system. It's extremely dangerous, and a lot of times large groups will come in, gate camp that, and have absolute immunity as soon as they jump back into the low sec. So you see a lot more heavy traffic in those areas. You can see here, Ned is a low sec system that connects into Delve, and Habib is a system that connects into Fountain up above. So these are going to be heavily trafficked areas. A lot of people will be staging ships in the low sec area and preparing to invade null from there. So your best bet is to stay off the autopilot path in a dead-end system, away from an NPC station, and far away from the bordering alliances around you. So for those starting out, just grinding those tier 6, tier 7 anomalies, being in one of these dead-end systems that is a low security space, maybe 0.1, 0.2, is a good place to start, so you wouldn't see a whole lot of enemy traffic, and you'd be able to get some good early warning signs. The local list. No matter how much it gets in the way or blocks your screen, or how many times I tell everyone to watch local, they just can't seem to wrap their heads around how useful this can be to save your ship. While these tips are not going to be in order, I would say that using the local list is going to be one of the key, most important things to keeping you safe when you're in null security space or low sec space. Anytime a name pops up on that list that is not purple, green, or blue, they might be coming for you. Leave yourself an out. So let's break this down real quick. When you're warping out to an anomaly, let's say a large anomaly like this, you're going to warp in at your fighting distance, whether you're up close or at range, and you're going to want to first set the citadel as a bookmark in your bookmarks. This can be a citadel that your corporation or alliance owns, it can be a personal base, or it can just be a low-sec system base if you're in an NPC location. But set that as a bookmark. Use your display filters to set it as nearest, and then set it as your autopilot. This now is going to become a one-button click arrow that you can hit to warp back to station or wherever you've set that bookmark for. This is one of the reasons why you see so many people using long-range ratting ships, is because it's quick and easy access to warp back to a station or a safe location. because you know you're not going to be in range of any warp scramblers or warp disruption to keep you from warping away. If you're first starting out in null-sec, I highly recommend the Prophecy and with some long-range settings so that you can fight things at around 80 kilometers with the appropriate skills. You don't need extremely strong mods. You can use MK7 stuff or green stuff if you can get your hands on it. And when you're fighting at that long of a range, you don't really worry about taking as much damage from the rats as well. So you can fit more offensive and be able to take things out that you might not otherwise be able to take out up close and personal. If brawling up close is something you prefer though, please make sure that you go into your station overview settings. This will show you in yellow which station you are autopilot set to, and just go ahead and approach that the whole time that you're ratting. You may have to adjust every once in a while if you get out of range of the things you're fighting, but this will give you a much quicker warp away time if something should enter the anomaly that you're fighting in. Using the approach command to the Citadel can save you a little bit of time from having to warp away every time someone comes into a high traffic system. But be aware of cloaked enemies who can enter your anomaly without you realizing it and be locking you down before you can hit that warp away button. Your safest option will always be to warp back to the Citadel when a neutral or a red enemy enters the system. So watch that local list and look for any names that don't look friendly. Another important thing to note is that when you're using a brawling ship, you're going to be in range of enemy scramblers and disruption modules. You will see the icon on the bottom lower center of your screen and also in the overview if you have the ship selected. This way you can click on the disruption module that's locking you down and find out which ships have you locked. Always, always, always take these out first. This is going to be your fastest way to get away if an enemy enters local, or if you just find yourself in over your head against the NPC rats. Sometimes they're the smallest ships, and sometimes they're even battleships, but always pay attention to what has you locked down and take it out first. Another thing you can do to prevent warp disruption is to fit the warp core optimizer rigs. These are going to grant you 3 points on the level 3s of warp jammer strength. Keep in mind, however, that they are very expensive on the market and they are going to lower your overall combat capabilities of the ship because they're going to be taking up engineering slots for your rigs. If you have the gold nanocore for your ship, you can actually go into the secondary attributes and increase your warp stability even further. Depending on the level that you have and the ship type that you're going to be using, you might not even need to use any warp stabilization rigs and can free up some slots in that way. Watch for callouts. One of the best parts about being in an alliance or a corporation is having your allies nearby call out enemies that are close. And with the most recent feature adding in the amount of jumps away that the enemy is located, this becomes an imperative tool to use to keep your ship safe from enemy invasions. And as a wise copyrighted uncle once said, with great power comes great responsibility. So you also want to link these names when they enter your system for your allies. Not a lot of people know how to do this, so I'll show you right now. If you go into your chat, make sure you're selected on alliance or corporation, whoever you want to inform, and you're going to click on the 3 little lines on the bottom next to the send button. Then click on character to bring up a list of all the characters in the system. Select the name of the neutral or red that's in the system you want to link, then go over into location and select the system you're in. After hitting send, you'll end up with a link for the player's name and the system that they're in, which will also inform your alliance how many jumps away they are from them. The other options that it gives you are Mayday, Warning, and Scout. Mayday is going to be used if you're already currently being tackled by enemies. Warning is going to be showing the enemy ship types that are around you, and Scout is going to be showing how many enemies, friendlies, and neutrals are in the system currently. All of these chat options can be selected and sent while you're on your way back to the Citadel, warping to safety. So don't be afraid to send out that information to help your friends. Don't fall asleep, or get distracted, or browse the market, or check your skills, or check Conquer Path. It's a shame that I even have to add this tip to the list as a tip, but you would be shocked at how many times I wake up to find a corp member has lost their battleship, or carrier, or dread because they fell asleep while playing the game. If you've ever ratted for long hours, you know how it feels to have your eyes start to slowly close and drift off or get distracted. Maybe you want to browse the market. Maybe you want to look at your skills and make sure you have everything set up correctly. And before you know it, you close that screen and you come back to a warp disruption bubble surrounding your ship. Hey, it happens. I get it. But if you really want to keep yourself safe, save yourself IP and ISK and a little bit of embarrassment from the death mail, don't get distracted. Go to sleep when you feel tired. And if you're not going to make it, don't risk it. It's not worth it. And even though this is going to come off as more of a lecture than advice, I'll say, if the game is boring you so much that you can't keep your eyes open, do something else. Because there's nothing worse than losing a ship when you could have saved it by just keeping your eyes open or paying attention. As someone who has hunted many mining ships, battleships down solo, I can tell you it takes me approximately 6 to 7 seconds to get from into local and on top of you. So you don't have a lot of time to check your skills, check your conquered pass, or set anything else up. Once you see that enemy in local, he's probably coming for you. And even if he's not, it's better to be safe than sorry. Going on to the topic of not paying attention, I will also add that if you plan on AI ratting in null-sec, be aware that your ship will not attack enemy players when they jump on you. It will not warp away when they enter your anomaly. And if you think that you're safe just by looking away and you can take all those NPCs, that's when the enemies are going to jump on you. If you really want to AI rat, you can do it safely in high sec, or you can halfway pay attention to your screen, watch the callouts, and watch local with hands-free on your device. But I strongly recommend not using AI ratting in null-sec. So those are my 5 tips. Find a quiet place, use your local list, watch for your alliance callouts, leave yourself an out, and please don't fall asleep. Using these tips, I have successfully gone a little over 3 years and never lost a ship while ratting. The only 2 times that I've ever lost a ship to another enemy player is when I was trying to save a corp mate and when I was getting way too cocky with a mining ship thinking I had extra time. And I know that if you do all of these things, you too will save yourself tons of IP and tons of ISK on replacement modules. If you have any other tips or tricks you want to add for players to stay safe while ratting or mining in null-sec, feel free to add them in the comments below and we can discuss. If you enjoyed the video or found anything useful, feel free to drop me a like and hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching and fly safe.
Don't fall asleep.